Dear to them, remembering the victims of torture, some of them departed, and those living with the disabilities and injuries they received, and also asking ourselves, what can we do to get ourselves out of these circumstances? I have heard you saying that Kenya is where you would want to be. Not exactly. Not all that glitters is gold. I think there is a recession of democracy all over the world, and Kenya is no exception. And that is why, in standing in solidarity with you, we remind ourselves that vigilance is the price of democracy. If we do not have vigilance, continuous, purposeful vigilance, even those who look like they're doing okay can lose what they have. I'm very horrified by what I have seen here, and I came at the end of it. And one of the things we must be asking ourselves as leaders as we depart today is, what can we do to help those who are still suffering with injuries that can be attended to, because that is of urgent importance, and immediate attention must be given to that, even as we ask ourselves what we can do. Before you hear the stories of the survivors, our description of brave is wanting. What I have heard and seen here today is what describes bravery. And they are still standing strong, saying, Aluta, continue. They're still unapologetic about their defense of democracy and human rights. I had both Besigye and Changulanyi ask or call for unity. We cannot succeed in this fight without unity of purpose. Because united we stand, but divided we fall. And the oppressor always hopes to divide. The old colonial tactic of divide and rule is there even today. It divides people, the good and the bad. And today, citizens of our countries, not just Uganda, but even Kenya, divide themselves unconsciously or consciously, the good and the bad. That you don't want to call out a regime that is eroding democracy and human rights. You don't want to call out brutes because you want to give them a chance. And I am here to say we should not give even a minute, even a second. We should give no chance to people who have no respect for democracy and human rights. And democracy means recognizing that whatever you are doing as a leader, you do in the name of the people. And if you are not doing it in the name of the people, then you are illegitimate, because you have usurped a space that belongs to the people to oppress them instead of working for them. I kept on asking as we sat there, how can this happen? How can there be so much cruelty in a regime that prides itself to be working on behalf of the people? Because in East Africa, all our countries go through some sort of elections, whether sham or otherwise, and then they celebrate being elected. We don't have an army general. In Uganda, we have a president. In Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and all other East African countries, we have presidents who claim victory at elections. So if you are working for the people, how can you use the position given to you or you usurped from the people to commit the atrocities that we have seen? We can only answer that by promising ourselves to free our minds so that we can take back our power and act. And when you acquiesce dictatorship, either because you want to maintain your job as a civil servant, a government officer in a parastatal or wherever you are, because you want favor as a business person or as a citizen, you are exposing those who stand up for rights. Imagine a Uganda where 90% or even just 50% of the people are vocal about their human rights, refuse to be cowed. Imagine a Kenya where 50% of the people refuse to be cowed, or any other country. There would be no room for the atrocities that we have listened to today and we have witnessed through the media happening in Uganda and elsewhere. In Kenya, atrocities have happened. Maybe not to as many people currently, but if you remember our 2017 elections, an electoral officer was murdered. Murder was foul. We have had people killed, witnesses, ICC witnesses. It doesn't matter at what time human rights are violated, whether because of personal issues, elections, or any other issue. They all happen because a person feels threatened by the person they attack, or you want people to fear. Because what has happened to the brothers and sisters who talked here today is supposed to be a warning to others that this can happen to you. If a majority of us stand firm, we will help ourselves by creating safe space where we can agitate for our rights. So today, I'm talking not to the converted, because people in this room are already converted. They are already human rights defenders. I want to talk to citizens of East Africa, of Uganda, of Kenya, of Tanzania, of Rwanda, Burundi, of every East African country. And I want to say that it is your silence that is exposing the brave in our communities who get tortured, who get killed, and it is your silence, our collective silence, that is helping dictatorship thrive in East Africa and in our individual countries. And if you think we are safe or you are safe, whichever country you belong to, if we continue this way, we will be submerged by dictatorship and violation of human rights. We were brave enough to fight the colonialists. We must be brave enough to fight our fellow black oppressors. It is not the color, it is the action. To our international friends, people say, show me your friends, and I tell you who you are. Standing silent in the wake of violation, grave violation of human rights, erosion of democracy, and rising dictatorship within the East African region. It's an act that tells us that our friends as East Africans are dwindling. That they see fire in our house and they are not coming to our rescue. And I want to repeat or to echo what was said by Besigye and Changulani. The primary responsibility of wrestling the monster of dictatorship lies with us as residents of East Africa, lies with the people of Uganda, the people of Kenya, the people of Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. And that is why we are standing up here today. but we want to be able to look and number our friends who really come to our aid. And there is no such a thing as standards of democracy or human rights for the developing nation and for the developed nation. A human being is a human being, in spite of their circumstances. So let us continue resisting. Let us continue preaching to our brothers and sisters that if we stand together, we will be able to overcome, because we will overcome. History is replete with examples. No dictator lives forever. And no oppressed people stays under oppression forever. The apartheid regime of South Africa, it had now settled almost as though it was a normal regime, a normal country among community of nations. But when the time came, it felt like a domino. The same with the Berlin Wall and with many other things. And I want to say to the community of nations and to us, dictatorship spreads beyond borders. In East Africa, let us refuse dictatorship. In whichever country, whether Museveni's, whether in Kenya, because in Kenya, I can see the making of a dictator. And dictators are made by citizens remaining silent. We have had in the recent few months cases being withdrawn, cases of fraud being withdrawn, rape, whatever murder, being withdrawn, where the suspects are people in power. We have seen land grabbing cases, affidavits being sworn, saying there was no land grabbing. How come all these cases about people in power, not the ordinary people? Something is cooking in Kenya, and this is the making of dictatorship. I am here to stand in solidarity with Uganda, but to remind my fellow Kenyans that our silence will make a dictator worse than we have ever seen. Yeah. I want to say that I will not be silent, inspired always by the lyrics of Juliani's song, Sister Simama Maovu ya Kitawala. As long as I have breath, I promise myself that I'll raise my voice whenever it is necessary. And that is why I am here to raise my voice in solidarity with Uganda, with solidarity, in solidarity with East Africa, and saying also no to any form of oppression, lawlessness, and any form of state capture in Kenya, because it begins with the leaders thinking that they own the state, when we, the people, own the state.